proud of myself. I'm proud of every person who picks it up and reads it. And I hope they feel some of the magic that I felt while researching and writing it. So it's surreal.
I love it. It's such a gorgeous book.
Thank you.
You open the book talking about, you give a dedication. And you thank your granddad and you thank your niece, Amaya.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming Amaya is the youngest person in your family. Is that correct? Got it. You thank those two people. And what I love about that is, for people in our age group, you sit in an interesting space, right? Where we are talking to people who are our elders now, who raised us, like your granddad and our moms and our dads. And, these are people who lived through apartheid in America, right? And, their stories matter. We're trying to collect them. And so I thought it was beautiful because you started off talking about your granddad and how your granddad influenced your critical consciousness, which we'll come back to.
Yes.
But then you dedicated to your niece and you say that you guys are like the bookends, right, of my life. And I think that's such a beautiful thing because the intersection is like being able to reach back to the past, but also making sure that, the future is as bright as it can be, as thoughtful as it can be. So I love the way that you just opened the book in general.
Yeah.
But who we get our critical consciousness from is really important. And I'm always interested in Black folk who really love Black folk down.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, how'd you get there, right? It is a privilege to be around Black people who love Black people. Your granddad, as you note in the book, is that person for you. Yeah. Can you tell us about him? And can you tell us about your work and how he shapes your work?
I love that we're starting here because 2 days ago, I did a book talk in Atlanta, and this is where he lives. He's 91 now, and I got to see him and spend time with him again as well. And he's one of the adults in my life who was not a parent, who nurtured me.
Yeah.
I'm talking about when both of my parents were active duty, deployed with the Navy, we lived with my grandparents.
Yeah.
He's the type of man, and I guess I'm the type of granddaughter who would scream and demand his attention to the point where he would come home from work, drop his briefcase, come pick me up out of my crib, and hug me before kissing my grandmother on the cheek, which I'm sure she was like, y'all are both too much.
Yeah.
Y'all are both doing too much. But that transitioned into early morning conversations. He was always up when I woke up, when we would visit throughout my childhood. And we would sit and he would challenge my ideas, challenge what I was learning in school in these conversations, in these sunrise chats. And he's someone who I felt safe enough to explore ideas with. Again, it's important that he was not my parent because having that outlet separate and apart, knowing that he wasn't judging me throughout was important for me. And as I grew, he was one of the few people who cheered me on when I made big pivots. Yeah. Whether that's, okay, I'm going to change my major summer before senior year of college and like just figure that out. He's like, if you like it, I love it.
Yeah.
When I went through massive relationship transformations and getting out of toxic, harmful situations, he's like, baby, you're the only one who wake up as you.
Period. Yeah.
And knowing that he would always be that resource, knowing that in that same house, there was a binder of images of patients from the Tuskegee experiment.
Yeah.
Where he would process and approve their medical claims throughout the 60s. And I stumble upon this binder and he's like, put that back. Right.
Yeah.
Knowing that every time I spoke to him, I was speaking to living, breathing Black history.
Yeah.
Someone who was born in 1933 in a mud floor shack on the side of the railroad tracks in Atlanta. Yeah. I felt, he instilled in me this responsibility to not only learn from him, but to pass it forward. And so that's why I include my niece in that dedication, because I do feel that responsibility. I feel that responsibility heavily with writing and researching this project. I wanted to not only give readers, especially older readers, a sense of nostalgia for the women that they know in Shirley Chisholm and Diane Carroll, but a sense that it was still connected to today and still had value today. And so he was the driving force in that. And so the day I got my what are they called? You know, the advanced reader copies.
Yep.
I flew to Atlanta. I was like, Granddad, it's here. And he's like, what? So what's here? What's going on? And he pulls out this massive, you know, magnifying glass with a light on it so he can read the print, the small print. And he started to cry.
Wow.
Because he said, I never could have imagined that I would produce or contribute to producing someone like you.
Yeah.
In this time.
Yeah.
Who was touching the hymns of history.
Yeah.
In the research that I did and the work that I documented. And it's deeply fulfilling to be able to not only share that with him, but also with my niece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Really, yeah.
Period.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've been thinking about as of lately is what it means to be like an adult or grown. And it's so hard. Like it's really the ghetto. Like
it is the worst hood. The worst. Do not recommend.
Yeah, do not recommend. but it is so hard.
Yes, it is.
And I think now, you know, there's so much weight, right? I was up at 2 a.m. like a couple of weeks ago, and not to make this my Moesha journal moment.
No, come on.
You know, like I was up at 2 a.m. and I was telling my friend DR, who's in the audience, that I've been obsessed. I get obsessed with different talks. Mm-hmm. So I'll like spend a month watching Bell Hooks, and then spend a month watching all the talks of Toni Morrison, and then spend a month, you know, like, and just like have them playing in the background. So as of lately, I'm obsessed with Saya Sanchez.
Okay.
And in one of her talks, there's a woman, Elsa, who I think is the niece of Angela Davis, after my little researching. But she opens it by saying, you know, we are learning how to walk in your footsteps, right? And I just cried. It was like 2 a.m. Yep. I was by myself, and I was just like, we are learning. We are trying. It is so hard. And it's hard, right? Because like my grandmother has always held it, or my mom has held it, or my aunties have held it. And now people are like, we're older. Mm-hmm. They're leaving us, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's physically, sometimes it's not, right? Like sometimes it's mentally, but like it's for us to take on. And sitting at this intersection is exciting, right? But it's also heavy.
Well, you said it already. Yeah. You said when you talked about my granddad, for example, being someone who grew up in apartheid. Yeah. We are going back there. Yeah. We are experiencing
and
that
having
now.
to gear up for the fight, right? Like in a place where we haven't quite been in the same way, right? And having to gear up for that. And it is just heavy. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I began to think about it, and I was like, well, does it have to be as heavy as it's appearing on the surface, right? Because we have so many blueprints. And I think what I love the most about your book, right, is that you illuminate a blueprint. Mm-hmm. You go back and get a story that was in many ways obscure, right? Like the majority of us have heard of Shirley Chisholm. And we know that, you know, she was trying to be president. We know all the things, right? But you kind of zoomed in, right, after talking to Congresswoman Barbara Lee on a particular story about a party that you didn't have to. And it's an interesting thing because people don't always take parties as like a serious thing. Yes. Right? But I think there's a lot of things that have been won in the midst of creating intentional Black joy. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, she kind of notes this party, right? And you kind of decide to dig in there. I want to know why that was of so much interest to you, one. And we'll get into like the blueprint things. I have questions around that, but just like, why was that the thing that kind of like set you off, right?
It wasn't originally what I was supposed to write about.
Yeah.
Like originally back in when I first started outlining in early 2021, it was about, I was focused on Chisholm's 1968 congressional run.
Yeah.
I was like, everybody knows about the presidential run. Nobody knows about what she endured in her congressional run.
Yeah.
Or as a congresswoman.
Yeah.
I think that's far more interesting. But then I started interviewing people who'd worked with her. I'd started my research and digging and probing. And the thing that struck me about Congresswoman Barbara Lee in that conversation I had with her, she was so casual. She was like, you know, I'm the one who got the Black Panthers to do her field organizing in Northern California. I said, what? And then she's like, oh, yeah. And I took you, if you knew, to Diane Carroll's house to meet her for the first time. Oh, and that's where I met Maxine Waters for the first time. I was like, what? You can't. I screamed and she just laughed at me. She was like, that's just what it was like working for Shirley. I was like, but you got to understand, like that's
major.
That's Black history. And I was like,
Black royalty, as your grandfather
as my
said.
granddad said, you are among Black royalty. How dare you be casual about this? And so a couple of months later, after I went back for the follow-up interview, she said, you're the first person to ever ask me for a follow-up interview on this. I have shared this story tens of times over the years, but no reporter, no documentarian has ever asked me for a follow-up.
Yeah.
That's when I knew I had to do something. That's when I knew I don't want this to be lost to lore of Black history, a story that's told as like, oh, guess there's this one time. Like, I knew I wanted to document it because, one, I could not imagine all these people in this room, y'all. Like, every nugget in my research revealed something new that just prompted me to ask, why were you there? Like, the image of Berry Gordy wrapping up Diane Carroll in a bear hug, planting a massive kiss on her cheek. I was like, bro, you literally spent the previous year trying to block the best protest album of all time. Marvin Gaye's What's Going On? Like, why would you now go to support a woman who represents everything about bucking norms and systems and protesting? Goldie Hawn, Oscar award-winning actress who had been blatantly out on the campaign trail for Senator George McGovern, said he's the only one who has a vision for this country. Now she's showing up?
Yeah.
I said, oh. I wanted to document, and I was intentional about documenting it in this way because I know my niece doesn't know about these people or the significance that they have, but I know my granddad would read this and feel deep memories and nostalgia of what he watched and witnessed throughout his life. And so I think that's what lit the fire in me, like knowing I didn't want this to just be a story that I told somebody or Congresswoman Lee told me that didn't ever get the respect and documentation that it deserved. Like someone like Diane Carroll deserves to be documented. Somebody once said, well, why can't I find out any of her political activism on her Wikipedia page? I was like, bro, come on. She did it though.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to do her justice. I wanted to do Chisholm justice and explore her humanity in a new way.